Hello again, everyone. Gavin here. Today we're going to be reviewing Mutant Reverb by WA Production, a reverb plugin with an internal ducker built in for volume management, almost like a compressor. So let's go ahead and get into it. Going to turn the effect off. We're going to listen to our dry mini-bit signal first. So that does the trick. Let me turn the effect back on and let's listen to it with the more or less default settings. That sounds horrible. Okay, so gonna turn the mix volume down. That's the volume of the reverb itself. So let's try that again. So it does have a spectrogram, and what you're seeing, the dark yellow signal is the incident signal, basically the synthesizer without the reverb. The bright yellow signal is the reverb itself. So that's a neat feature in that I don't usually see like a spectrogram built into a reverb, and that it lets you see how the main input signal plus your output reverb are working together. I think that's a really neat feature, something that WA Production thought of. So there's also a time knob, short tail, short time, long tail, long time. Now one thing, you notice that kind of echo? So for some reason, this plugin actually produces a sort of echo as it goes. I've twiddled all sorts of different knobs and haven't yet found a way to change that. I believe that that sort of echo combined with the reverb is native to this plugin. So that's a natural part of how it works. There is a handy dandy pre-delay section over here. So if you engage that, it goes all the way up to 100% right here. 100% pre-delay. We can see that the reverb is lagging slightly behind the input signal. Turn it all the way off. More or less instant reverb. There's a size section. Short size. Kind of stifles the sound, almost makes it a little bit more like a room. Huge size. Very wide open sound. Over here, we can alter the diffusion of the reverb. Now with a lot of other reverbs, turning that off gives it a sort of clicky, grainy sound, but turning this all the way down versus all the way up, having it all the way up makes it smoother, but I don't really hear that same clicky sound. So not 100% sure how effective the diffusion is. Either way, it's good to keep it up at 100 if you want a smoother reverb. There is a section for adjusting your stereo. So when the little arrows are pointing left and right, it's true stereo. If you turn it off or click on it, that turns off the true stereo. Suddenly you get mono reverb, which if you have stereo information on your input signal, it's going to sound a little funny like it currently does. Turn that back on. You can adjust how much stereo you have with this knob here. 0 stereo, another way to get mono signal. Turn it up to like maybe 50 or 60 or whatever. Get a little bit more stereo information that way. There is a high pass and low pass filter. This sort of functions as your EQ for this particular reverb. So there's a lot of low end. I don't want that, so I'm going to turn that up. Cleans up the mix quite a bit. Let's turn that down a little. That's not bad. You can adjust the low pass filter or high cut with this knob. There's also a dampener, which is this little button right here. Click and drag on it to turn the dampening all the way down. Super bright reverb. Turn it up. It's kind of nice in that dampens not just the high frequencies, but kind of shortens the sound itself. Muffles it a little bit, so let's turn that dampening down. Now, to the ducker part. This works very much like a compressor does. So to actually get it to trigger, you need to adjust the threshold. So let's look at my little meter here. So pretty consistently, my signal's sitting about neg 15, neg 12. So if I want this thing to do anything, that's the minimum threshold I need to set it to. So neg 15, basically it'll only trigger if the volume of the input signal goes higher than that. We want that to be a little bit more easily triggered. I'm going to set it to neg 25. Now let's listen to it. I need to turn the mix volume up a little. Let's listen to that again. I turned it up too much, but did you hear that? Like, the sound ducked when my input signal or the main synth was playing and got higher afterward. So let's put that right about there. So that's where this plugin starts to get a bit more magical, is that the ducker really makes it so that you can play all sorts of crazy notes and then immediately follow it with a reverb tail, which is more or less what I might do with a compressor with a more complex signal chain to multiple mixing slots and the like. But it's all here. It's all in one plugin. You have a ratio for your compression, make it nice and harsh, or very soft. Borderline unnoticeable. So 4 is a good minimum. But you can play with that to get the setting you like. There is an attack section, how quickly the ducking begins. If you delay it, then it sort of allows more of the reverb and the input signal to mesh together, to mix more. Like if I put it all the way out there, the compression kicks in after about a second at the full setting. So if you want it to always be applying, you need a 0 attack. Release, how quickly the reverb goes back to normal volume after the compression's done. So short release. Instant and kind of choppy sounding effect. Put it pretty high. This gives you quite a bit more control over that reverb tail. So if I put it down to maybe right about 3600 milliseconds, you can see that the reverb kind of gets a little louder more quickly. Then there's a hold section. And to be perfectly honest, I don't really understand what this does. I'm assuming that it is how long the compression is held between the attack and release. I think that's what it's doing. Like, if I turn that all the way down, so I'm not really sure what the hold does, and I'm having a hard time hearing any differences there. So one way or another, like the default setting for the hold at 10 milliseconds might do the trick for you. You can twiddle that knob and experiment at will. That's all the different knobs and features of this plugin. So my initial impression of this thing was that I didn't really like it very much, mostly because of the sound. Like, to me, it almost has a tinniness where even when I was adjusting the low pass and high pass and dampening it, I couldn't really get rid of it. Like, it's a very metallic sounding reverb. Don't mind me, I got an airplane flying outside or something. Very metallic sounding reverb. So I feel like I don't have as much control over the sound as I do with some other reverb plugins, even though it has many of the same controls. Just this has a very unique timbre to it that I haven't really found in any other reverb plugin. The internal ducker is just such a neat feature to me, and the spectrogram so you can see how the ducker's working with your main signal. Those are features that I think are great. I think that having the ducker function like a compressor is just an awesome idea. I love how you can affect just the reverb with it instead of the main input signal. So you could actually like put a compressor before the Mutant Reverb just to affect your dry signal, compress like mini bit a little bit for a second, and then route it into Mutant Reverb and then compress the reverb separately from that. So neat signal chains that you can set up with that. After playing with this a little bit more than I did in the past, I do think that this is a decent quality plugin, but I don't think that the sound is all that good. That's my personal opinion of it. Would this be worth the money at full price? I don't think so. I got this thing on sale. So that being said, me not liking it very much means I'm going to need to make a track out of it. So my next video, I will be countering my own review, see if I still have the same opinion after using it even more. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Leave a comment down below. And I'll see y'all next week.